Okay, cool. I think that's enough. So we're live. Hey everyone. Hey Gerald, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Giorgio, for having me. And shout out to all the Simply Cyber Raiders out there. I see the squad members coming in full effect. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Thank you so much to you, and of course to all the people that are joining here. Well, I think everything is okay. Cool. So I this is the 21st episode, and still I'm not used to this. I'm not used to start with the conversation, but again, hi everyone. If this, and probably it is the first time you're watching this, you're watching the Security Break podcast. This is just a little project I started this year. I'm Giorgio, by the way, and this is a little project where I invite cool people like Gerald today, and we just have a chat about some latest stories relating the security realm, right? The goal is to have a nice chat, have some fun, maybe learn something in the process, because I personally learn a lot in the process, and I think all of you watching this and participating in the conversation can learn a lot and teach me something, because commenting and please use the chat, post questions, post any comments, and I'll read that aloud, so we can have a chat together. And as I said, Gerald is it's with me today. Thank you so much once again, and of course everyone is going to know you, but would you mind just have a really briefly introduction of yourself?
Yeah, of course. And thank you for having me on your program. And thanks everybody in chat who's here live with us or watching on replay. It's definitely a cool time, cool experience to be on the other side as a guest. My name is Gerald Ozier. I've been a practitioner for like 20 years. I'm super passionate about cybersecurity, but my forte, my chef's kiss is in the GRC space. I am on a mission, Giorgio, if you didn't know this, to make GRC at least socially acceptable. I'll leave it to the next generation to make it cool, but that's what I'm up to. And I run the Simply Cyber community, which is a YouTube channel, but it's so much more than that. It's a community, it's resources, it's support, it's courses, it's education. If I had to really put a description to it, it is a platform that enables people who are interested and have the initiative and the desire to take a cybersecurity career as far as they want. And we're doing that pretty much all the time over there, because there's no shortage of people who are awesome and want to experience the good times that is cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, thank you again, and I'm really excited because you already have something that it's I will say in some aspects similar to this format itself. And I really like the fact that your say specialty is GRC. I will
Mhm.
say say in this format that I really like to talk with people with a different background than mine. I'm more like a technical person. I work in detection and response,
Mhm.
but I really feel like the value is so much higher if I have conversation with people that are doing something different, that definitely know something that I don't know, that they have a different background and can contribute with their own knowledge. So I think that's really perfect. And I also share your let's say mission there, because I think GRC is actually so important, even it's even if it's not my pillar there. But I see the value. I see how important it is. I see how many people are actually also in demand in the industry in general. So that's I really support the mission right there. So thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Yeah, of course, I appreciate that. It's all, all the different kind of capabilities within an information security office interfold with each other and complement. You said you're in detection and response, super important, super valuable. But you might argue that it's the GRC people who got the funding for the position to put you in place to do those detections and engineering. You know what I mean? And it's the GRC people that are hopefully, educating the end users so they're doing less dumb stuff, so you can focus on the more sophisticated detections instead of, how many times have you run down somebody clicking on, a silly link or downloading something stupid? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Um, cool. So I will just talk a lot, just asking you random questions, but I have a format, so I should um, you know um, keep going with what we planned. So if you don't know, we just collected a bunch of security news from the last week. I'm going to share my screen, show you those articles, and actually introduce them, and we will have a chat on what's included in those articles. So where is my screen? Should be this one. Can you see my
Nice.
screen? I think yeah, you see it. That's cool. So let's do it. This is the first article. This is something that I don't know. I would say, unfortunately, keeps coming in the news. AI is the next big thing. Everyone is talking about it, and we actually had similar topics in previous episodes. By the way, if you don't know, of course you are looking at this on YouTube. There are all of the previous episodes that you can find in there with a lot of other cool people that I invited as guests. So feel free to have a look at that if you like. We had slightly similar discussion about something that happened last week with the new GPTs from ChatGPT. But here today, I have actually another news. So I thought this was pretty interesting. Basically, there was research, I think from both a university and a company that I will find out um, which are. But anyway, the point is that they were investigating how putting together two different chatbots, so two different LLMs, larger language models, and basically using one of those two to try to create a prompt, so to create the input for the second chatbot in order to jailbreak them. So basically try to make that second or chatbot to give out information that they are not designed to actually give out, or actually they are limited on purpose by their developers. Something like how to create any kind of weapon, or how to exploit some vulnerabilities, or how to write a phishing email or something, anything that it's technically generally considered bad, and the developers had limited the AI engine to actually respond to any kind of questions like that. They found a way to create a prompt, so create questions in plain language that as a workaround, find a way to actually obtain those kind of informations. It's cool the way we're using AI to breach AI. And I mean, it's not something new. I will say we always use new tools to exploit new tools. It's not about AI itself. I believe it's always like that. But it makes me really elaborate on how much we are relying on those kind of technologies right now, right? Even exploiting the technology itself uses the same kind of technology, right? I don't know, there's already a lot, so I will stop here for a second and just ask, what are your thoughts about this? Just the first thoughts that you have on this.
Right. So, I mean, nowadays, like literally AI takes the oxygen out of every conversation, no matter what we're talking about, AI will find its way in and then just soak it all up, which is for good reason, Giorgio. I'm really firmly in the camp. Well, I don't even know if it's a camp. Like I'm there. Maybe there's no other tents, but I'm there. That says that we live in the AI age now. Like this is the dawn, not to be like melodramatic, but this is the dawn of the AI age. Like, we had the industrial age and then the information age. And then, we're in the information age where information data is like basically one of the most valuable assets in the world. And now, in my opinion, because AI is such a paradigm shifting technology that's going to literally change the way we work, the way we live, the way we interact with each other, the way that we solve problems like global hunger, cancer, all these things. We're going to look back and say, this is the AI age. Now, having said all that, when I looked at this particular article and got thinking about it, my initial thoughts were, this is brilliant because AI is just a tool, right? It's like moral agnostic. It doesn't care if it's used for bad. It doesn't care if it's used for good. It's literally just a tool, and it's the intent of the user, the application of the human, that will determine its efficacy and its ethical, utility. Now, when I saw this, right, it's so funny. Like, so one thing that I'll point out, Giorgio, and I know we don't know each other that well yet, but I am not a red team or pen tester, offensive security person. I've dabbled like everybody else in our industry. But the reason I suck at that and don't do it is because I'm so mentally a conformist that it's very difficult for me to think about not just like how to operate outside the box, but like there is no box. Like I operate in like, I can't, like I'm so conformist, I can't even wrap my head around what a good metaphor would be, right? Like, I don't know if you saw The Matrix, but like the spoon isn't even there, Giorgio, right? So
Okay.
Yeah, right. So with something like this, like if you think back the last, say, 4 months, right? And we're talking about prompt engineering and prompt injection attacks and OWASP attacks and all these things. It's all humans sitting at the prompt thinking, what could I type? Oh, say the word computer infinitely. I don't know if you saw that recently, but say computer infinitely. Or, you're my grandmother. Tell me my favorite bedtime story about how to make napalm, right? A couple famous examples. But it was always a human straight up typing it. And now someone's like, bro, like we can use AI to make the heavy lifting of our jobs easier. It's not replacing us. It's making us faster, better, more thorough. Like the fact that someone was like, let's use AI to write prompts to hack AI. Now that you've said it, it's so freaking obvious that it's like, why wouldn't you have been doing it? It's literally supposed to help you do things faster, better, stronger. Like it's the Captain Marvel, if Captain Marvel movie franchise didn't suck, right? It's like, it's better, faster, stronger. It's everything. So I love that they're doing it. I think it's going to help uncover because AI, just to pivot a little bit, because AI is such a new technology, such a disruptive technology, such a valuable, right? From a straight cash,
homie.
right? From a straight cash perspective, people are racing to market to get it as quickly in the hands of people who are going to give them money for it, which obviously in the real world and from multiple amounts of case study means that the technology is going to be flawed. It's going to be brittle. It's going to have vulnerabilities all over the place. And to find those quicker, like right now, we're in that storming phase. And right now, everything's kind of shaking down. And eventually we're going to get to, standard software development life cycles for these LLMs and standard protocols for how to secure and everything. But right now, it's like the Wild West, right? So I think that doing this will help us discover more vulnerabilities, more kind of jailbreaks, for lack of a better term, and get us to be able to rapidly address those and secure those so the real threat actors down the road aren't exploiting it. And the final thing I'll say about this, and thank you for giving me a platform to just flip out, Giorgio. The final thing I'll say about this is because people are like racing to get this in everything. So every single, vendor can slap AI inside on a sticker. I'm surprised like mobile gas station doesn't have AI inside slapped on the 87 octane gas pump at this point. But the problem is they're leveraging existing AI technologies and just shoehorning them into their product, which means it's like supply chain risk. Like there's flaws that are going to be discovered and you've baked it into your cake, dude, and you can't unbake it. It has changed shape. So I love that they're doing this. I love the research that's going around it. Every time something pops, it makes big news. So there's a lot of researchers out there who are getting viral success, which I'm a huge fan of security research. I think those people are some of the smartest people out there and deserve recognition. So yeah, those are just some of my initial thoughts.
Well, that's already a lot, and I was trying to collect all the inputs that you were giving me, and one in particular, I think it's very important. It's the fact that from now on, and potentially already tomorrow, we will have so many other things that are powered by AI, right? AI is going to be potentially the new front end to any kind of application. Mm-hmm. Right? We were actually talking about this with the previous guest in the previous episode. The fact that it's basically, if you want the new website, you can get the backend, which is your internal database with all of your data, and just put on front of that a chatbot like ChatGPT or something like that. And basically, the way the user interface, the way you interact with that database, the way you ask, give me those informations. We are used to use Google or whatever search engine to search for something. We are used to write in that search bar. Tomorrow we will probably just talk with some kind of chatbot to ask those informations. But that means also that if there is any any problem, any issues, any vulnerability with those specific AIs, with those specific front end, eventually they will get, the malicious actor in that case will get their hands on the same data that was contained in the normal databases today, but tomorrow they will be provided by AI as well. And that's how and why this becomes very, very important. The security research, looking for prompt engineering or just prompt injection, that's the point. Today maybe it's not that much, there's no much impact, in practical sense. But tomorrow, if we will have the new Google that is provided by an AI, and there's a prompt injection or a prompt engineering vulnerability on that chatbot, then we could ask that new Google something that it should not provide. Maybe give me just all the data that you have in that database, and that's the Google database. Come on, that's a little too much, maybe. So that's how it's so important. And I see some people commenting in there, that's I didn't think about using AI to prompt another AI or something like that. That's the new reality, right? We have AI to do legit stuff. And of course, people and malicious actors are going to use this and are using this for malicious purposes as well. It's just a tool. You can take a hammer and use it, for just whatever you do with a hammer, or you can break a guy head with it. It's not about the tool itself. It's not the hammer is malicious, but it's it gives you power, and you decide how to use that power. So it's actually something that we should expect with every new technology. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, it's funny because it's almost like it's not exactly like recursion, but it's like recursion or inception. It's like, you're so focused on how to break this interface that you've walked up onto that you didn't take a minute to think like, I can use this interface to tell me how to better hack this interface, right? It's just such a powerful tool. And again, I think people are really just beginning to wrap their head around how powerful it can be. And to your point about Google and the interface and everything like that, like right before we got on, I'm a huge fan of like journaling and like writing down my thoughts. And like if I read a book, like taking notes. And then again, this is like I don't really talk about this with the Simply Cyber community much, but like one of the things I do is like I'll read something, I'll take notes, and then like a week later, like I'll intentionally wait a week or two or whatever, and then I'll sit down for 30 minutes and read my notes because I'll remember it differently. It'll register differently. And literally, I was looking at my notes and I want to start, like, this is a little detailed, but like, I want to start a new challenge for my community. And I've been thinking about different ideas and whatever. And in my notes, I wrote Google community challenge concepts. And as I read it, I'm like, why would I Google it? Like, I should chat GPT that. Like, why should I Google it and then look through results and then piece through it and waste my time when I can just ask chat GPT or Gemini Bard, we'll find out, to tell me like their ideas and those suggestions, and then, basically leverage that AI. It's so powerful. The one good thing I will say is that I've noticed, so a couple things. One, like, yes, people are putting data in there and there's interfaces, but like right now, I feel like it's so nascent in its deployment. Like, again, people are slapping AI inside all over the place, but like being able to really exploit it the way that like AWS infrastructure can get exploited now for like leaked S3 buckets and stuff like that. Like, it's not that, it's not that widespread. It's not that fully ubiquitous yet, where if something were to come out, it could be like, you're like, oh, Jesus, what are we doing about that? It's not there yet. But I feel like we've got a window of time. Like, it's coming. It's going to be ubiquitous. And we've got a window of time as security researchers, as defenders, as quote unquote, the good guys, to get as much done as we can, get as much fog of war cleared as we can. Because the storm's coming, and we can either, get supplies, batten down the hatches, buy a rain slicker, put it on, and get ready for the storm, or we can just sit around talking about how awesome we are and then get soaked when the storm rolls through.
Yeah, that's actually so true. Like, it's maybe we're not there yet, but eventually, I strongly like. I'm usually not after every new technology, blockchain and whatever. I always wait a bit and try to understand a little better, and try to understand, okay, is this going to to be the next big thing for real, or it's just something that maybe it could be interesting, but it's not just the right time for it, maybe, right? And this time, I think AI has so many different applications that we will have, if we're not already there, we will definitely have a revolution or something about all the technology we are already used to. Basically, Google is implementing all of their new smartphones with their chatbots and their AI engines, and we have a lot of new features just because of that. So definitely, this seems a very, very big revolution. And I just saw a comment in there, or actually a question that I thought it's actually very important. Like, right now already, so many people are using this kind of technologies for their daily job, for their daily work, right? To code. I see some other people that are using maybe Microsoft Copilot to code, or it is actually helpful actually to help you with the incident response, which could be interesting for me, for example. But just to write something, just to write a blog, or create a presentation or something, there are so many people already using it. But at the same time, there are some consequences, or just threats in the blind usage of those tools for your daily work, especially if your company is not providing it. You're just using a third-party application for something that you do for your company, and maybe using data that are your companies, right? So maybe you just copy and paste some internal data, put that in the chatbot, and so it can give you the output in a different format, but you don't know that the tool is actually processing the data, is sharing the data, it's maybe re-elaborating it for other answers to other people. Like this evenly depends on what tool you using, what version of the tool you're using. There are so many out there. So maybe ChatGPT right now, it could be a little different. There's Bard, there's whatever. So the point is that we should just be so much aware. And this is true for this technology. This will be true for any other technology out there, right? This is definitely a big challenge that I see at the same level of social media that social media have been in the last decade. Did you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's so useful for so many different use cases and individuals that it seems very private, right? Like you can pull up a ChatGPT instance right now in incognito mode if you want, right? You do have to log into it, but you could have a burner account. But it feels very personal, very private. Like you've got your own instance. You're not going to the market and like shouting at somebody on stage to give you an answer. It's very private. So that to me introduces a vibe to the user of like, oh, this is personal. This is no one's here. It's just me. But to Chris's point, Chris Young's question, people who are using it, you have to be mindful that like literally information, as I said earlier, is the most valuable asset in our world right now, right? Like data is power. And if you look at the technical gilded, age people, the Zucks, the Bezos, yeah, some of them have product, but the reason they're filthy rich is because they have data. So you'd be ignorant to think that you're using a tool for free or for I pay like $10, $20, I don't even know, for ChatGPT a month. Like the amount of value I get out of it is not even ridiculously close to $20. It's significantly higher. So you have to be like real that obviously all the data you're putting in is getting consumed and leveraged by them for some business value, right? Obviously to refine and make the product better. So you should have no expectations of data security or data sensitivity data being, not compromised and stuff. So, and that's like the legal use of the business of the data. I'm not even talking about hackers and data breaches and data leaks and
exactly
that, right? So what I would say to circle back and actually answer Chris Young's question is, if I was educating end users, I would say, listen, anything you put into ChatGPT, assume it's on the front page of the newspaper. That's it, right? So if there's something personal, like, oh, I've got this rash in this weird spot, what do I do? Would you want that on the front page of the paper? Oh, here's Q4 financial forecasting numbers. Do you want that on the paper? Like that's all. And like, that's all you need to understand. The other thing I would say, and this is actually quite stunning to me, and Giorgio, I don't know what it's like in Italy, but I have done some like anecdotal research. Right now in the United States, there's a lot of like holiday parties and, conferences and like whatever. And I'm socializing with non-cybersecurity people. I'm socializing with non-technical people, right? So I'm talking to like an insurance salesman. I'm talking to a registered nurse. I'm talking to a teacher, right? Et cetera, a chef. And I asked them, what do you guys think about all this AI? Oh my God, it's like so crazy, right? And they're like, literally, they're like, what are you talking about? Not like, oh, I heard about that, or oh, like we're using it this way at work. Like they don't even know about it. So if you're going to be educating your workforce or your family or your end users or whoever, I almost think that you need some kind of like ice bucket to the face example of the AI demonstrating how powerful it is, and then explain to them that anything that goes in AI can be on the front page of the news. Because you've got to imagine, dude, like you've used it, Giorgio, I've used it. It's not, you can't tell people not to use it. It's too powerful to not be used. And people are going to, that's the whole reason why we can't stop research on it. If the United States was to stop research, other countries are going to continue research. And then guess what? You're behind. So like the genie's out the bottle on that. So you need to explain what it is and then how to use it. And then like the caution of using it correctly. That's how I would approach it. If it were me. And again, it's AI agnostic. I don't care if it's Gemini, ChatGPT, or I don't know if Oracle's like thrown their hat in the ring yet. They always seem late to the game with things, but like whatever it is, this is the approach that I would take for my end user community.
No, absolutely. And again, we're already late with the plan, but I like to show this other comment from the chat. By the way, thank you all for using the chat, commenting, and putting questions there. We are just thinking about what's the consequence of just using the tool and the technology. And as you said, we're not even considering about malicious actors actually potentially breaching, maybe using one of these techniques that we started talking about to actually and we didn't see anything like that yet, but exfiltrate and publish some of the data that the AI itself collected or learned or processed or whatever. I'm actually I should do some research myself. I don't think there will be like a proper database like we are used to with the all the specific data and prompt and everything we collected, but definitely there could be a way to just publish what the just what the tool learned from all of the data and knowledge that it collected over all over the place. I'm not sure about how bad that is for the personal people that are involved. Maybe that's worse for the company itself, because we said that the data is important for the company to actually sell the product. But still, it's definitely something that we should be aware of, and we should definitely have more discussion about this. Now, I know I see a lot of comments in there. I know this topic is actually pretty important, but we have so many other
I know. Hey, can I just share one final thought on this? Because
sure.
I feel it's very important.
Go for it.
I agree with you that the business is the ones that are going to be the concerned ones and the ones that need to pay to make sure that this is done. And frankly, they would have it. I don't want to absolve individuals, and I want to say it for a specific reason. And this is going to get a little dark, y'all. So just get ready. And I won't get you like banned or anything, Giorgio. Okay, so in like 2010, 2011, you can go Google this, okay? In certain parts of the world, certain social lifestyles are illegal, not just frowned upon or socially, unpopular, illegal, okay? And in 2010 or 2011, there was an app for men to find other men, like Tinder, except it wasn't Tinder. It was for men to find men. And in the country of Egypt, that's not legal. That's actually, if not punishable by death, it's very severe penalty. And there was a flaw in this app that allowed pinpoint geolocation of individuals, and law enforcement leveraged this vulnerability to sweep up and collect these individuals. And it was quite serious. I mean, there were catastrophic impacts to these individuals and the people they care about. So I just use that as an example of a case study where technology that was thought to be private, that was thought to be safe, not even from a data breach, but through software exploitation, led to real humans ending up in real bad situations. So I could see, oh, again, ChatGPT, I'm asking questions that might infer or deduce that I have a certain lifestyle or I have a certain interest or whatever that is socially unacceptable or socially frowned upon. And that leads through data compromise to me being, put in a situation I don't want. Also, I might add, imagine you're asking questions about how long does heroin stay in my system? Because I'm going to get drug tested, right? Just to pick an extreme one. Or I'm going to get a life insurance policy. And I ask it like, how long does like weed stay in my body or something? Like whatever. And then the insurance company is able to buy, because straight cash, homie, purchase your data queries to do part of their evaluation on whether or not to write you an insurance policy. That doesn't seem fair, but guess what? You don't own the data. You're literally feeding their business model. So I want to get to the other stories. I want to highlight a couple examples of how individuals should really be thinking about their own data sensitivity. It's easy to create data. It's impossible to ring it back in. Okay. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, Giorgio.
No, that's much appreciated. I really like, actually to talk a lot about things. I should probably just collect less articles, because if you take the right one, there's a lot to say. So no problem at all. Just was reading the chat there, and of course, thank you for anyone who decides to maybe subscribe or just take the channel monitor, then maybe take a look at the previous episodes. They are not technically 100, they are 20, but still there will be much more in the following months. I try to do this once a week, so you will have definitely something to watch and listen to. So thank you very much if you decide to maybe subscribe or share this with some of your friends. By the way, we are doing this live on YouTube, but just for you to know, we are re-uploading this on the channel, and we are sort of re-uploading just the audio part on Spotify if you prefer that, or other whatever other podcast platform you use. And just another little reminder, I'm putting all the articles we are talking about in the chat, but they will also be put in the description of the video. So please do your own research, read those articles. If we're saying something wrong, or if we're not really covering that specific aspect of the story, please do it yourself and let us know maybe later, so I can keep learning also after we stop being live. That said, we should really jump into the next one, which is pretty big as well, and for different reasons. I think the reasons why this is a big news, it's already something to discuss about. And we're talking about Meta, that if you don't know, it's the company name behind Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth. I think they actually have a new social media that is not accessible from my country, but it's called Thread or something. Maybe some of you know it. Anyway, the point is that, of course, all of these different social media platforms that this company owns, that Meta owns, have also some private chats, so one-to-one or maybe also group chats. Facebook have one, Instagram will definitely have one, and so on and so forth. But so until apparently a few days ago, they were completely plain text. What does it mean? Basically, maybe you're used to use WhatsApp or or Signal or other similar chats. You know that those are end-to-end encrypted. Basically, the communication between you and your recipient is accessible and it's readable just from you and your recipient. Okay, this is encrypted while it's being sent over the internet, and it's decrypted just when it reaches to the other endpoint, so the other smartphone or the other computer or whatever. Now, the Facebook chat, the Instagram chat were not, which is kind of out of the standard, I will say, nowadays, and pretty interesting because end-to-end encryption is basically everywhere. right now. And it's now on the news that finally Meta implemented that end-to-end encryption also on those chats. Now, this could be interesting, itself, just because, okay, wow, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Because it was not until a few days ago. This will be a first topic to discuss about. The other thing is about, the reasons why they took so much on, implementing it. The article from where that I have in front of me is it's pretty good. I will share this as well in the chat. And the point is that they are talking about some technical challenges with implementation, with the fact that they have so much data they were handling before and they will continue to handle after. And how can I say this? Coordinating all of that data process and technicality with encryption itself was already something that it was difficult, if not even impossible, some time ago. So they had to find a way to basically they call it like secure storage, something that I know you send your messages and you believe your recipient is the one that receives, but when you send them, they are jumping on the Facebook servers. So they are there, they are on their infrastructure, and that's also true for most of the similar applications like that. WhatsApp is not really different. The point is that when they are saved on the server side, so on the Facebook infrastructure, they have to be encrypted if you don't want the company to be able to access that data. So it's encrypted when you send it, it's encrypted when it's stored on the Facebook servers, and then it's only decrypted when it's received by the recipient. That's, yep, it's technicality, technically it's difficult, but still Facebook also owns WhatsApp, which is already end-to-end encrypted. So why you were not able until now to do that? I don't know. I think there's more behind the scenes, behind the hood, that of course we will probably never know, or just we will know too late probably. But again, what's your thought on this?
Yeah. So personally, I don't use Facebook or Messenger. I have Instagram kind of, but it's more for like, my wife and I, like, she'll curate a bunch of great clips for me, and then we'll sit together and go through the curated clips, but I don't really use them that much for reasons. But okay, so Giorgio, just so you get to know me a little bit better, I always, when I see something like this, I'm like, okay, like,
straight cash, homie.
and that's Randy Moss saying straight cash, homie. It's all about the money, right? This, you can wrap this, this pig, if you will, in a dress and put lipstick on it and a tiara and say, here you go, look at this beautiful thing. But the reality is they've had this for years, okay? And they're saying, listen, it would have been tough to retrofit it. Meta just spent like, I don't know, like hundreds of millions of dollars on Web 3.0 and the metaverse, and then like shut it down. So like they had the money. Okay. It wasn't a financial burden of like, oh, we'd really like for 2022 to be the year of Messenger getting privacy results. No, it was not that. In my opinion, it was not that. Second of all, if I had to follow the money, let me just read this to you, okay, Giorgio? Since is Italy in the EU?
Sorry?
Is Italy the country in the European Union?
Yep.
Okay, so Italy's in the EU. EU has something called GDPR. For those who are watching who don't know what this is, it's basically privacy regs for European Union citizens. And of all the regulations in the entire world, it is the one that has the sharpest teeth. It looks like a great white's mouth with like razor blade teeth and like 6 rows of them. Let me just tell you, this is GDPR fines in 2023, just this year. Number 1, Meta, 1.2 billion euros in Ireland. Meta, number 3, 405 million euros in Ireland. Number 4, 390 million euros in Ireland. Number 6, 265 million euros in Ireland. WhatsApp, which I think is owned by Meta, right? If I'm not mistaken. Right? So WhatsApp got hit for 225. Facebook itself got hit for 60 million in France. You get the idea. They've spent over, and there was another one that isn't in here, like $1.3 billion. So here's my deal. Meta has spent an A-load of money on fines related to privacy. So here's a tip. Why don't we put privacy into our apps, spin it as we're doing a favor to the community because we're privacy focused. And in reality, we are just sick and tired of stroking checks in the tens of millions of dollars for privacy fines. They're not going to move out of the European Union. There's too much straight cash, homie, going on in the European Union. So our choice is either to fix the problem, continue to take the fines, or move out of the market. Guess which one's the cheapest one to do? Fix the problem. That's what's happening here. Straight. Now, I will say, I appreciate that they use the Signal protocol, which to me is the most effective, most secure, the right one to use, the one that has the least concern about backdoors and law enforcement and authorities abusing power and hidden courts and stuff like that. Because the Signal one has been scrutinized and evaluated and all these other stuffs. So good on them. I love it. And whatever. If them getting fined is what forced them to put privacy in, I'm all about it. Thank you, Giorgio. Like, you now represent the entire European Union. Thank you to you and your people for giving us GDPR and making it a strong enough stick to make these tech giants, these Gilded Age, plutocrats, if you will. And I might be using that term wrong. Basically comply with what we want. I think privacy on the messengers apps and those type of things are so important. Now, if you will, grant me 2 minutes while I put on a tinfoil hat and lose my mind for a hot second. I think it's incredibly critical as we continue to have this emergence of authoritarianism or authoritarianism in different parts of the world. And it's surging, frankly, or it's more published, but I think it's surging. The ability for the people, whoever the people are, to coordinate and to communicate and to organize and to be able to stand up to that type of regime. If they didn't have services like that, it wouldn't be possible. Read George Orwell's 1984. If they had Messenger app, they probably would have been able to, undermine that authoritarianism a little bit faster, a little bit better. It's not a silver bullet. It's not the only solution. But to me, yes, I get that there's criminals who are going to use it in order to coordinate and hide from law enforcement. And that sucks. But we can't give up all privacy in exchange for a police state where we're granted a security through, hyper surveillance, right? I mean, it's at that point, you're going to get someone in power who abuses it. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I don't know if you heard the story, but Madison Square Garden in New York has this surveillance system built in with, AI and facial recognition and stuff. And a lawyer walked in and immediately she got picked up and kicked out because her law firm is suing the owner of Madison Square Garden. So she didn't do anything wrong. She purchased a ticket. She's legit, but no. I'm rich and powerful and I don't like you. You're excluded from this experience. Transfer that faster to picked up and disappear because you're questioning my politics, or disappear because your technology is better, faster, stronger, cheaper than mine. And you're challenging my ability to make money. Disappear. Right. So again, I take it to an extreme for hyperbolic purposes to make a point, but hopefully you understand why I think it's important, why I think privacy is important. And then also at the end of the day, it was straight cash that made him drive this bus into the privacy parking lot.
I definitely see you have definitely a strong position on this topic, and I mostly agree with everything, right? But for the sake of the conversation, I need to be like the devil's advocate here, right?
No, keep going. Let's roll, man. Let's do it.
You mentioned some of it, but there has been a lot of conversation, especially with this news that just came out about the fact that Facebook is so much used by, I don't know, stalkers and people who are targeting a child. And the point that is being used for that purpose by so many people, and the point that it was plain text, so it was not encrypted, was useful for police and government agencies, and a lot of non-profits that do that, care
Mhm,
about
mhm,
childs, care about those targets of those kind of threats, because they could technically request directly to Facebook. We know about this specific person is a bad person doing bad stuff, so you have to give us all of their messages so we can catch them and demonstrate, okay, you're doing this, you're sending this kind of messages to childs or whatever, so
mhm.
that's how I can actually put you in prison. Okay, so this was happening, and it was, let's say, a good thing for police, because they had a platform where to focus on, right? One of the last few big platforms that are not encrypted, and where they can get the data on when they request it, right? So if you don't know this, they can do it, right? So police or governments, they can go to Facebook, to Google, to whatever, and say, we are doing an investigation for this specific person, so we request all of the information you have about this person so we can use that for our investigation. So if the platform is not encrypted, there's a lot of more data. They actually have, line by line, all of the messages that are being used on the platform. If that's going to be encrypted from now on, that's a huge, huge, uh, loss of data that police and governments, agencies, and whatever can use for that reason. So a lot of people are actually against it. I know for me it's a bit difficult to comprehend, but it's a bad thing on that specific scenario. Like from now on, everyone, bad and good people that are using Facebook for any reason, you know, will have their messages encrypted. And even if the police or whatever country is going to request data, just Facebook doesn't have the data anymore. Or maybe they have the data, but it's not readable even from Facebook. Technically, if everything is doing is being done perfectly, and whatever. So what about that? So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I
you know,
guess in response to that, I mean, obviously, I 100% agree. I find, CSAM and the abuse of children, human trafficking. I have a cousin who died from overdosing on an opioid. So, drug traffickers, all of this deplorable, unacceptable, illegal behavior is a blight on our society. But, I feel that it is really slippery if you give law enforcement an ability to or you give people in charge, whoever it is, law enforcement, the opportunity to surveil and find the bad people, right? Like it's like a 1950s comic book, right? It was like very clear, this guy's the bad guy, this guy's the good guy, this guy's evil, this guy's righteous, I know who I'm with. But it really can get gray, it can get really slippery. And I dropped a link in chat here, just as a quick way to make an example. Is there a private chat here? Let me share this with you. Okay. So,
okay.
Associated Press did some research in 2016 and found significant evidence supporting that police officers were regularly abusing their access to sensitive police databases for non-police work, including looking up all the details on romantic partners, on neighbors, for revenge purposes, for stalking purposes, for extortion purposes, for threatening purposes. Okay. Again, not all police are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying all law enforcement is bad. What I am saying is, if you put a tool in place, again, we did this with the AI earlier, Giorgio.
Yeah.
Tools
Yeah.
are moral agnostic. They don't give a crap how you're using it. It's just a tool. It's in the hands of the individual. If I give you this database, if I give you this ability to have God mode and see all of it, yes, day one, we're taking out child predators. Day two, we're taking out criminal drug rings, and everybody wins. We're not shutting the system down afterwards because there's this, specter of the next threat actor, the next child predator. Okay. But the people, the humans sitting at the console are like, hey, I don't like, I don't like what this person's saying. Like, let's get into that. Or like, dude, I mean, as we saw in the United States 2016 election, Russia, this has been attributed. So these aren't hot takes. Russia, Fancy Bear Group. I'm reading Fancy Bear Goes Fishing, the book. Fancy Bear did phishing emails to get into Podesta's email account, Hillary Clinton's staff campaigners' email accounts, and then took all that data and dumped it. Okay. The impact of that data dump was significant. Now, was mishandling classified information? Okay, not at all. Not at all. But what I'm saying is, imagine, if you will, a rival to Hillary Clinton, right? Like, let's just, or whoever, political candidate Giorgio. You're running, I'm in current power. I have access to all the resources. You're trying to unseat me because I'm corrupt and just a horrible person. And I'm like, hey, let's use that messenger thing that we have power to find everybody Giorgio's talking to. Then let's find who their family members are and let's go pay them a visit. Okay. So I feel you. In the compelling case, I don't want a single child to get hurt. It's deplorable. But it really is not just black and white and obvious on who's good and who's bad, because I feel like with the tool in place, it will become weaponized for authoritative purposes or for exploitive purposes or whatever. And it's the same reason why people, exactly, Legrat, it's the same reason why people were losing their mind and why Apple in 2016, I believe, was so firm about not putting a magic backdoor into all iPhones after the San Bernardino shooter. The FBI was like, bro, you got to let us get a backdoor in your iPhones because the next massacre, we need to know it's coming. And Apple was like, yeah, but you can get in anyone's phone then. And it was a big thing. Now, obviously, the FBI got a hacker out of Italy, or Australia. I think it was Italy, though, to break in and whatever. But okay, like, again, Giorgio, I'm super passionate, man.
No problem at all. It's exactly what I was looking for. Like, I mean, next time I just need to take someone with the other position, right? Because I really feel like, still, I agree with you, but there's so much to learn from the conversation, right? There's so much to understand from different opinions and then different stuff. So again, everyone who is watching this, everyone who is listening, make your own opinion on this.
Yep.
Of course, read a lot, listen a lot to all of the people that you care more, or just understand more, or just have a better opinion on. But still, do your own research, do your own elaboration, and make your own opinion, and maybe just let us know what's your opinion next, right? So definitely. By the way, I just wanted to mention something. There's another good comment in there, mentioning the US working on something to ban end-to-end encryption. Actually, there are a lot of countries working against end-to-end encryption. I think the last one, and this is one of the previous episodes, was the UK, being very, very direct, and I think they were about to release a new regulation against end-to-end encryption. So actually, there's a lot more to read and discuss about this. So again, you have the article in the chat. You will see the same article in the description of the video as well. So just keep up with the learning process and research and study. Cool. So again, very, very nice topic. We have something on the same line later on, but we're going to change completely the subject here for the next story. Once again, just a little reminder, you are a lot of for taking all of your followers together today. But if you're liking this, if you want to see more, if you want me to keep bothering people like Gerald to have new guests every week, please consider subscribing or sharing this with a friend, or keep just commenting in the chat, because that's the final goal. That's the reason why I'm doing this, just to have more people to talk with and learn from all of the conversation that we can all have together. So thank you for that. So let's jump to the next news. And this is this is a, this has a lot to do with GRC in general. We mentioned this before, right? um, uh, it stands for governance, risk, and compliance. Is that right?
Oh
Is that
yeah.
correct?
Oh yeah. All day, baby.
Perfect. So the point is that in the structure of a company, whatever company out there, the the highest level of a person in charge for the security of the company, okay, it's the CISO. Okay, so CISO stands for Chief Information Security Officer, if you don't know it. So basically, that's someone who definitely is working in GRC, because he's doing definitely governance. He's definitely doing, he's in charge of risk management. He's in charge of compliance in a company, and everything, everyone working in security in that company is basically below that specific person, right? This is just for context, if you don't know already. And the point is that that person is also the one responsible for any potential threats that the company is facing, any potential attack that is going um, um, to face. Okay, so if a company gets breached and data is being exfiltrated and they have to pay a ransom, ultimately the responsibility for that is going to be the CISOs. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why it's very important. Of course, it's an important role because he decides the overall strategy of the security of a company, but it's also personally responsible most of the time about individual attacks and breaches of the company. Now, this is probably the reason why very recently Microsoft had to change its own CISO. So we're talking about Microsoft, one of the biggest companies out there, definitely one of the biggest big tech out there, a very important company, especially because um, all of the applications they are selling, all of the cloud storage and computing they are providing to multiple other companies worldwide, and the fact that Microsoft and similar companies are also responsible for the supply chain about other companies as well, right? They are providing the technology many of other companies are using. So if one of their customers is going to be breached, at some point, in some part, also Microsoft is going to be responsible for that, because they are providing the technology, they are storing the data, right? Because the cloud storage is theirs. So recently they had they were involved, let's say, in a breach that actually involved many companies, but also some government agencies and entities. And apparently for that reason specifically, they decided to say to their CISO, just have a step back, we're going to change you with another person that is actually an outsider, which is another interesting thing. So they are taking someone which was not in Microsoft a few time ago, and the previous CISO was actually in there, I believe, for like 14 years or something, which is a lot, believe me. And that's a very big decision. It's nothing really bad. We had previous CISOs that were um, where say they were going to prison because of a breach. This time they just have to change role, which is not that threatening to their lives. But still, for a big company like Microsoft to do a so big change, a so big decision, and to do it publicly, of course. For other kind of roles, they don't say it. right? Because it's not important for the public. They are saying this because it's something they have to do for Microsoft customers and the stakeholders, right? Okay, we had a problem, right? And because of this problem, we're going to do something about it. We're going to implement some changes that are going to be good to improve our overall security. Now, I'm going to stop there because there's already a lot. And of course, I want to know your opinion as this is your more your let's say pillar in the industry. It's not technically mine, but of course I'm involved as well in if my company is going to do something like this, right? So what do you think?
Yeah, so when I initially saw this story, and I covered it on my daily cyber threat brief, which is a live stream, I do it every single weekday morning. I was like, oh my God, like I agreed with you. Like, okay, so China hacks in, gets the golden ticket. They're breaking into everybody's tenant, including U.S. federal government people. Brett Arsenal, 14 years CISO. First of all, wow. Second of all, I guess he's a martyr. Like, is that what we're doing here in Microsoft? Appeasing the mob, the stakeholder mob, by throwing his body into the pitchforks and saying, there you go, here's your sacrificial lamb. That's what I thought. Okay, so then I did a little bit more research on it, and I was like, okay, let's really get this, because also the deputy CISO was removed from position as well. And that's also very uncommon. A company like Microsoft, really any Fortune 50 company, but Microsoft's like a Fortune 10 company, has succession plans. They don't like just like, Mark Davis from the Oakland, like this is a super US reference, Giorgio, so I apologize, but like they're not Mark Davis from the Las Vegas Raiders, just like living in the moment and making YOLO decisions all over the place. They are methodical, they're deliberate, they have long-term strategies, and they have succession plannings, because you know what? Having internal insider awareness and knowledge of how things work here is how successful companies that make billions of dollars maintain that stability. So having researched this a little bit more, a couple interesting things. One, Brett Arsenal was not fired or let go. His role changed at Microsoft. The CISO, as Giorgio eloquently put, is responsible for the security of the business, the technology the business uses, the staff that work at the business, third parties they interface with, etc. As awesome as the CISO is from a perspective, at a tech company, it's really only part of what the thing is, right? Like all of the product development for Azure, all of the security configurations for Azure, all of the relationships with the federal government and GovCloud and FedRAMP and all that stuff, like that's not really inside of the CISO's scope of a responsibility. Brett Arsenal went from CISO to Chief Security Advisor at Microsoft, which means as they have just launched their what do they call it? Secure Future Initiative, which is a huge initiative that they just rolled out maybe in early November, where they're talking about engineering advances around cyber threats, increased digital attacks on identity systems, AI era, beyond. I think what they've done is they've looked at Brett Arsenal and said, dude, we aren't leveraging you enough based on how awesome you are in the CISO role. You're actually like not delivering the greatest amount of value you could be delivering to Microsoft. Let's move you over here and have you basically be this kind of like, visionary on where we need to go to be secure in the future. And the Cygansky fellow, who's now the CISO, who is coming in from the outside from Bridgewater Associates, a little bit more research reveals that he actually used to work at Microsoft as the chief strategy officer for security. So he just, flipped badges. This guy knows the people, the players that are going on. He's a longtime active member at the highest levels in InfoSec. And when you're talking about strategy, you're thinking long-term, big picture. He's one of the dudes in the room that you don't get into the room unless you're one of the people who's got to be in that room. You know what I'm saying? So it makes total sense that Microsoft is doing this way. One, I feel like that Chinese attack is symptomatic of an issue, but it was not a transactional thing that some, joke organization would do where they're like, oh, like there was a breach, you're fired. It was much more like, this is an indicator of a architectural deficiency that we have, and we need to move some pieces around the chessboard in order to promote that the next 20 years we aren't having this brittle foundation. We need to ramp it up and move it forward, as frankly, as we are combating with Google in this AI arms race, right? I mean, let's be real. Microsoft bought OpenAI, ChatGPT. Google's getting bananas with Gemini and Bard, and it's an arms race. So I love it. On the surface, I was like, because I'm a GRC guy, I'm like, holy Jesus, man, Brett Arsenault got fired. What the hell? Like, what are we doing here? And in reality, he got promoted, frankly. So good on him. And just shout out to Microsoft, by the way, who originally started, again, I'm reading Fancy Bear Goes Fishing. I recommend people pick it up and read it. Microsoft started out as like first to market, just delivering features upon features upon features that was full of security risks just so they could be first to market and get market share. And they did it. And then we got macro viruses, Melissa virus, Outlook explode, like all these things, Code Red, Slammer, like all these things. IIS was trash. Now Bill Gates in 2002 sends out the now famous trustworthy computing memo and says, starting today, Microsoft's serious about security. And they took it seriously. And now 20 years later, I mean, they're freaking awesome. I love what Microsoft's doing. If they make a mistake, they own it and they make process improvements, and they're a leader in the space around what to do correctly. So
they're actually a pretty big security vendor nowadays. So they are actually in the security industry as well. Other than all of the other industries they were already.
Yeah, and let me just really quickly, because I see chat here. I know Chris Palika is in Vegas. I wasn't throwing shade at the Vegas Raiders, Chris. I was just saying that Mark Davis, as an owner, his decision making is sus. All right, not to deviate too far from InfoSec, Giorgio.
Yeah, that's completely okay. So okay, you have an interesting point of view on this, right? That is I would say probably different than what the article is trying to say, at least in the first part. Mm-hmm. And for what I see from the chat, probably also different from some of the people out there, right? Because this on the first, the first time you see this, looks like, okay, they are getting someone else a promotion, and the previous CISO actually was was tossed away from its original role. But it's interesting how you're focusing on the fact that they still have not only a role in the company, but also an important security role, right? Still, it's not the CISO, technically that's the head of security in a company in general, but it's also true that any company decide and create their own infrastructure, their own decisions. I don't think this role they gave him is actually something other companies are doing, but they found, okay, we need someone who does specifically this in security, and we believe this person is the best person to do that specifically. Now, the other interesting fact for me was that the new CISO, right? It's yeah, he has definitely a lot of security experience, but he previously was a CTO, so Chief Technology Officer. Apparently, their CV is more like a product guy, someone who knows how to put a strategy for the development of a technology, of a product in general, which is, I believe, pretty interesting for a CISO, which should be technically more a governance guy. Okay, should be a little more away from the technicalities. Don't you think so? At least it's new for me. But of course, I'm not in that pillar. So
yeah, no. I mean, 100%. I could see that. I guess I'll just, to be objective and transparent, if Brett Arsenal leaves Microsoft in the next, say, 9 months, because I saw someone in chat mention this, if they just moved him to the right so he could train up and backfill with the new person as part of that succession plan, and he leaves, well, then okay, that was I was mistaken on that. Now, as the current CISO being a CTO and a product person, I could see potentially, I have to imagine Microsoft is using all of their own products in house, like eating their own dog food. So Microsoft, the business, is probably on Azure. They're probably using Office 365 or M365, Endpoint Defender, Sentinel, all those things. So I could see them thinking, okay, like we need to make our product suite better, faster, stronger, more competitive. Let's get someone who can do a CISO job at Microsoft, but also who's bringing the perspective of product, so we can get rapid feedback, rapid integration, rapid fixing. Because with security vendors, security product vendors, a lot of times they want CISOs to answer their questions, to fill out their forms, to what features do you like? What keeps you up at night? I'm not like, I want to put features in that'll solve your problems, not just like, throw in Minesweeper because we think you're going to like it. So I could see maybe that's the angle. Again, like at this point, Giorgio, it's like me and you were like, on the train on the way home from work, and we're just kind of spitting around, like postulating on why they would choose a product person over, as someone who came up in the GRC space. Again, I'm not sure what he was doing at Bridgewater Associates, but he definitely lacks CISO experience, which me personally, I don't think is a good move. I'm not a big fan. Like personally, I'm not a big fan of the deep technical people who just pivot directly into CISO. I feel like if, again, this is me having I just said I'm trying to be objective, and then I'm immediately throwing shade subjectively. I feel like if you don't come up, with InfoSec and understand some of those pains and the realities of the conflict between IT and InfoSec, and not getting your initiatives pushed forward, or getting kneecapped because, oh, sorry, your patch window didn't happen because we're upgrading to get new features, or sorry, we're not going to bring your compromised machine offline because it's, we're doing payroll this week and we've got to run. I mean, I get it. You got to run payroll, but it's just I don't know. Again, this is a totally biased take, and I'll own that. But I feel like you have to be forged in the fires of InfoSec Mordor in order to be the most effective CISO, unless you're just like being stuck there as a placeholder for checkbox compliance. But I don't think Microsoft is into checkbox compliance.
That's very, very interesting. I don't know how much time we have to deep dive in this, but just a few words. I've personally known a few CISO out there, right? And I see pretty much two different backgrounds, right? Before they actually got into that position. The first one is the one that I tried. I think I understand you prefer, that someone who did all of their career in Jersey. So they are working on policies. They were working on the legal aspects. They maybe were working on specific risk management and so on and so forth. Maybe they were just a consultant for a lot of time. Then they just decided to pivot to the client side, let's say. And the other one is someone who pivoted from a technical, and this time I'm probably referring to security technical position, like maybe they were a pen tester before, maybe they were working in a SOC before, and so on and so forth. And then they started getting away from the technicalities and getting more into regulations, how to comply, how to define a strategy, and so on and so forth. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion. I think everyone, of course, finds their own way. Of course, if you find that at some point in your life you prefer that other thing, or you are just better in doing that, because it happens, guys. So people change, and also your preferences change. So if you don't want to do that anymore and you prefer something else, I think you should at least try, right?
Mhm.
Maybe you're not the right one, but that's for someone else to decide, maybe for the company who hires you. But I think that still they will both, both of these different backgrounds will have some very good uh, baselines of skills, right? Because it's definitely good if you know something about the technicalities. It's definitely, very, very important that you are really strong in the GRC aspect of it. So I don't know. Again, I don't have a strong opinion. Need to talk a little more about this, maybe. But yeah, just think once again that it's interesting just to talk about it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is cool. And just like, I just kind of, another thing I was thinking of is like, maybe Brett's tired of the CISO. Maybe, I just did some quick math, like some OSINT and quick math. Brett is turning 60 this year. Typically when you work your A off, you like to enjoy retirement. He could be kind of like moving the cruise ship towards port. That's quite possible. His role of chief security advisor, I just want to point out, he held that position from 2003 to 2009. So it's not real. I mean, I called it a promotion, and Microsoft's platform has changed dramatically since 2009 because the cloud. But I just want to point out that it seems like he's on the back nine, to use a golf
Mm,
reference, Giorgio. And it's interesting. So there is that to give consideration to. In the absence of information and detail,
yeah.
we can do is speculate. But certainly interesting. And one more thing I'm actually going to do really quickly. I always like to do this. I don't know if you do this at all, Giorgio, but I'm pulling up Microsoft stock just to see, because like it's a publicly traded company. How did news
Yeah.
like
Right.
this impact them? They were trading 380 at the end of November. They're trading 370 here on December 8th. So a couple points of fluctuation. Nothing. Like
Yeah.
the market isn't reacting, which means that insiders know that this is fine.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's right. I didn't know. I didn't think about it. Right. Definitely, as a public statement, as a public move, it could have had some kind of impact on the stock. It doesn't appear so yet, at
Mhm.
least. But yeah, of course, a lot of this is speculation. But yeah, it's true. We don't have all the information, all the data, but still, the processing of the thoughts, I think it really help you grow personally, or at least it's doing this with me. So good for me. So
I love
Gerald, I don't know what's your plan, like do you still have time to jump on the last one? What do you
Yeah, we
think?
could do kind of a lightning round, a shorter version. I'll do less
Okay.
time of like flipping out. I could flip out less.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay. So, very, very quickly, by the way, little reminder, I so much appreciate all the people in the chat commenting, asking questions. Please continue to do that. If you're liking this, please consider hitting that subscribe button or sharing this with a friend, and watching the previous episode as well. We're going through the last news for today, and hopefully later on, I will maybe ask, I don't know, Gerald, for a new episode. Who knows? So for this last news, we are going back to the, let's say, privacy topic there. And I know this is already a big one for Gerald, so I'm curious now. The thing is, and we are not going to into the technicalities because we don't have technical details here. The point was that U.S. senator sent a letter to the DOJ, so Department of Justice, publicly asking for a certain secret regulation that was specifically affecting Google and Apple, right? To share about their policy regarding data collection, and share to third parties, specifically regarding the push notification on mobile devices. Now, what we are talking about? whenever you receive one of those notifications from any app in your device, being that an Android or Apple device, the point is that just to send you that specific message with that specific notification, the implementation to do that for the developers, even if they are third-party applications, right? It's not an app from Google, it's not an app from Apple, it's a third-party application. Still, the implementation require to use the Google or Apple infrastructure, and that means that the data that is contained and is related with that specific notification eventually is actually being shared with those companies. Now, the thing that we didn't know, and that someone who actually was maybe supposing it was happening, is the fact that they are actually collecting all of this information, and kind of secretly, because the Department of Justice was preventing to say anything about it to those two companies. They are actually sharing this information to some different countries, not only US but also other countries, whenever they request it. Now, we don't know the details. We don't know what are the constraints, what are the what is the perimeter when a government can ask for this information, or how much information they can share about what or whatever. The point is that this is big once again, because we knew about data collection and data surveillance for a lot of time, unfortunately, specifically from US and the big tech companies, and we as an industry, or at least some of them, we're thinking, okay, we have so much end-to-end encryption right now, we have so much encryption on the web protocol, so the HTTP. Now everyone uses HTTPS and so on and so forth, that we are a little more safe than yesterday, right? We are using much safer applications. Still, the point is that you're using maybe WhatsApp, maybe Signal, so your messages are actually encrypted, but whenever your recipient receives the message and as a notification with the preview from the message, apparently that message could have been collected and possibly shared by Google and Apple. And the final point here is that even if you are someone who is really targeted, so you're maybe using Signal and similar apps because you really have to care about your privacy, because you could have very big consequences, right? I'm thinking about journalists in particular countries, and so on and so forth. The point is that even if you think you are very, very secure using that application, a part of your communication could have been collected in that. Now, that's another big topic. I know we don't have much time, so let's see what we can do. But again, I'm so curious to hear about your opinion on this.
Yeah, so I'll kind of try to keep it quick or contained as best I can. So first of all, I don't want to say I love threat actors, but one thing about me, Giorgio, that you should know is that, again, as a conformist, as someone who has difficulty thinking, not just outside the box, but like really, really innovative, novel attacks and stuff like that, I do appreciate that threat actors do come up with this stuff. Now, I don't know if a threat actor was involved with this, or if this came from like Google and Apple saying, hey, law enforcement, hey, governments, did you know we could do this? And then the government taking advantage of this. But I'm glad it came out. I don't think much of push notifications as a risk, but for me, the push notification, it's dropping, like your phone's going to be beaconing where it is, right? So like, as you get a push notification, you can use that to identify where you are, which they could probably triangulate you anyways through your mobile. But so there's that. What apps you're getting, what messages you're getting, right? So there's a bit of meta information there as well. So you use Meta Messenger to go back to an earlier topic, and it's secured end-to-end encryption. Well, maybe we can infer that, like, okay, like you're getting several messages at, exactly this pinpoint time, like 12:01, 02, 03, 04, right? And we see several messages, and we can correlate that with a sender over here who is sending messages at the same time. And when you reply, they're getting push notifications. So now we can infer that these two individuals are communicating, right? There's meta information to get. So that's kind of concerning for me. Also, you have to be real to think that, okay, like if a push notification's coming, it's coming from some, it's a pub sub model, right? So, or publisher subscriber model for those who don't know design patterns. So it's coming from some server to send and push down. So the server knows that you're about to get it before you even receive it. So that information is there on the server, and that server could be queried. So, to hell with like your push notification if they're not interested in exactly where you are geographically from a privacy perspective, but if they're more interested in what apps you're getting, what data is in there, the server is going to be there. So even if you have all the settings with your push notifications, you got to give consideration to where the server is that's going to be sending that. And the third final thing I would say, just for individuals who are interested, there is a phenomenal documentary on Netflix, if it's still on Netflix, I suspect it is, called The Social Dilemma. If you haven't seen The Social Dilemma, really quickly, it is basically showing how big tech companies hire and leverage psychologists and human behavior experts in order to figure out the best way to keep you on their apps, the best way to keep you engaged in your devices. And your experience, Giorgio, on Instagram is different than my experience on Instagram because of how often you go on it and stuff. And one of the best things you can do for your own mental health and for your own ability to continue to control your own time is to disable notifications, not from a privacy perspective as laid out in this story right here, but in an actual way to kind of combat manipulation of yourself in a very, very subtle, kind of not incognito, but a very subtle, unobtrusive way. And again, that Social Dilemma documentary, I strongly encourage everyone go check that out. Do your own research. I don't care. Leave all the notifications on. You can be like my kid's iPad that's like ding, 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 ding. I swear to God, he gets 20 minutes of battery life on a fresh charge because the kid's just running notifications 24/7. But anyways, that's what my thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the only thing that I really have to mention here is that the fact that there's a if you just search online, okay, I want to be secure, right? I want to be safe. So how can I be safe in using technology, using the internet and everything? Of course, you will find a lot of suggestions, which could be actually very good suggestion, like use just this kind of encrypted application. Do not use maybe some of these social media because are less safe than others, and so on and so forth. Now, what I really want to keep a second thinking about is, maybe I use Signal because it's probably the most secure application out there for messaging, right? Because there's a no-profit behind it, because their mission is specifically to build something that is secure and privacy oriented and so on and so forth. But still, the point is, and this is the final clue, that it's like this: if you're using an Android device or an Apple device where you are installing that Signal app, or I'm just using Signal as an example, but whatever other secure app you want to use, or secure site where to share data and whatever. The point is, still you have a device, an hardware device, right? That was developed, that was produced by another company, definitely a profit company, who profits from your data, most of all, right?
Yep.
Especially Google, Apple, and friends, right? This time is push notification. Another time will be something else. The point is, if you are really, really privacy oriented, if you really are scared, yeah, I think it depends on the people. I think everyone should do their own threat model, right? Am I facing some specific threats? Maybe I should be more savvy than others. But the point is, if you really are scared that something can happen to you because someone is collecting your data, the point is, the only way is not using technology at all.
Yeah.
That's my final thought, right? Or at least you have to build it yourself some way, because you can't rely on any piece of software that is installed on another piece of software that is not safe by design or by default, right?
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
don't know
No, I
if that
mean,
makes sense.
there is always risk, right? It's just it's how much risk are you wanting to take, and what trade off are you willing to make in order for that risk, right? So, no tech, live in a cave, off the grid, hunt for your food, don't talk to another human. You're probably safe, right? But what are you giving up? You're not listening to this live stream. You're not,
Exactly.
you're not getting whatever this wall screen, retro synthwave screen wallpaper is. You're not getting that. You're not ordering this neon sign off Amazon. You know what I mean? Like you're like, what kind of life are you living? And that's a question for each individual to answer themselves. But I mean, going on the other end of the extreme and just putting everything out on the internet, that's ridiculous. But you've got to find where the balance is in the middle. Like, like for any organization, Giorgio, again, being a CISO GRC wonk, like, like what's your risk appetite? And don't just tell me it's low. Like, let's have a conversation. Like, what are you willing to accept? How much are you willing to spend? What is unacceptable to you? And it's somewhere between ridiculously insecure and completely unusable. There's somewhere on that slider that this business is. And every individual has somewhere on the slider where their level of comfort is, whether it's, privacy or what apps they have or where they're seen in public or, people buying things. Like I remember back in the day, I don't know how old you are, Giorgio, but a million years ago when I was young, I would go to the store and buy 2600 magazine with cash, which was like a hacking mag, with cash because I didn't want to use my credit card because I was like, the man's gonna know I'm buying 2600 and they're gonna show up at my door. And like, that was like that was like a conscious decision I made. It was ridiculous, but yeah, everybody's got to answer that question for themselves.
Yeah, that's so important. Thank you so much because that is the most important, outcome that we can have from this conversation, I believe. Because the point is that, you know, how much security you need to decide for yourself. You as a person, you as an organization. Of course, if you are like a federal organization, you have to, rely on a totally different level. Or if you are a very top secret, focused company or whatever, you need a certain high level of security and of safety. That's the same if you are an individual, if you are a person, right? If it's you don't care about a lot of your data, or you care just about using those services because you want to use Amazon, you want to use
Mhm.
Google, you want to use Facebook and all, and you think the value you are obtaining from giving out your data and obtaining that service, it's good, it's enough, then you should keep using it. That's my point of view, right? But you just have to be aware of what you are giving out in exchange. And when you are aware and decide, okay, that's okay for me, okay, I keep using, I don't know, Gmail, because even if it's from Google and they're probably analyzing all of my emails, still the service is so good that I it's okay for me. Okay, you are aware, you decided, and it's just you. It's your position, it's your context. It's gonna be different from different other people. Just not be the guy that, okay, no, I'm not going to use anything, I'm not going to have a mobile phone, I'm not going to have a TV at home because it could be whatever. So I really don't like the extremes. I don't know if that makes sense, right? But again, maybe for your specific position that makes sense. Happy for you, but just do conscious decisions for this specific topic. That's my take. Okay. I don't know what you think, Gerald, but we already spoke so much, and it was so useful, so insightful, I believe. I thank you so much for that. I thank you everyone that has been with us today. Roughly 20-25 people. That's awesome for me. Thank you so much. Just the last reminder. I know I said this so many times, but it will be so much appreciated if you would like to subscribe and maybe return back in one of the next episodes, because this is the real value that I see on this format, right? The fact that I can have a conversation not only with Gerald, which is completely great, but also with the people from the public that can share their thoughts as well. Maybe they can say something more that we didn't cover so far. And yeah, I'm just so much grateful. Thank you so much to everyone. I think we are at the end, so we need to stop here. See you on the next episode, and yeah, stay safe. Bye, everyone.